Hey, what's up? This is Martin Atjazz, and you're listening to the Liverpool Connection Podcast, music and football episodes.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Liverpool Connection Podcast. I'm your host Daz. This is my music and football episode where I usually bring on a guest that's into music and football. Today it's going to be more about the music. I've got such a great guest. I've been a fan for a very, very long time. I put him in the same category as Jimster, Fred Everything, Charles Webster, just absolute class. He's a DJ, producer, engineer, label boss. Maybe he even runs marathons. I'm not sure yet, but we'll get into it. He's got an absolutely stellar new album with 27 tracks. Yes, 27 tracks. And we're going to get into that. But I welcome Martin Iveson, better known probably in the musical world as Atjazz. So welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hola. Hello, thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
I definitely know you're not into football because we've already, talked about that.
I'm not. To my late father and my big brother's disgust, yeah.
But they were, your dad was a Liverpool supporter.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, which in my book, you've already hit 3 points, so that's good.
Yeah, I grew up watching Liverpool on the telly, in the days of Ian Rush and that, but the rest of my family, I won't tell you who they support, but yeah, they support other teams. But my family they're all into football, all of them. And it's just ever so weird that I'm not. I just never found it interesting at all. I used to play five-a-side football. I've used to watch like local games with my dad. He was like a first aid man when he couldn't play or anything. So he was always in the smell of what you call deep heat and stuff like that coming from my dad's medic bag, as I remember.
Yeah, the magic sponge. I always wondered what was in that bucket because you could have a broken leg as a player.
Just rub it.
Somebody just brings the bucket out, rubs it, and you get up and you play for the.
It is literally magic sponge. No, that stuff in the bucket came from some well somewhere that no one knows where the actual area of that well is.
Yeah, has that well dried up though? Because the players now roll around on the floor like 50 times. And
that well was only available in the 1970s and early 1980s.
Yeah,
it had another lifespan.
Well, it came with the pints and the ciggies, on the
and pies.
Yeah, different times.
Very much so.
The musical aspect, though, Martin, I always like to ask my guests, like, kind of growing up in your household, what was played and did it have an influence on you musically?
I would imagine it did. I don't think there was anything played in the house that really was of a style or genre of music that anyone was madly into, if you know what I mean. The radio was on. The TV was on. Obviously, there wasn't much music on the TV back then anyway, but the radio, we had one of those lovely radiograms where you lift the lid and it's got the record deck where you can pile them up, and when one's finished, the other one slaps down on top of it, and you've just got enough room for about, 40 vinyl or something at the side. And we had the Fame album, of course we did, and War of the Worlds, because everyone had them. But I used to be fascinated in the radio aspect of it, so I used to use the dial to try and find random stations, and you'd find all sorts of odd stuff back then in the early 80s and stuff, like random foreign I was going to say websites, but no, stations on AM and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. It's kind of like just fun looking for sound on it, if you know what I mean. So I think that was a thing. My sister was quite into Northern Soul, I would say, a bit of Motown and Northern Soul. There would always be something like that playing at some point. And then as I got older, And my brother got, he had a full-time job and he'd moved out and he'd got himself a big hi-fi stack system and a CD player. And he had like level 42 CDs and stuff, and I used to listen to music on his system as well. So not really a musical family, like a deep musical family, but everyone liked a bit of music. Like my mum and dad liked Dolly Parton and Elvis and stuff like that, where I'm not really fussed about that stuff really.
Were you top of the pops family?
Very much so, yeah. In fact, so much that when I used to go, I remember when I was 9 years old at the youth club, and this leads on to something that's always currently happening in my life. I remember in the youth club in the village I grew up in, Top of the Pops was on, obviously on a big telly, very heavy telly on a stand at the end of a room with some plastic seats in it. The raw band Clouds Across the Moon came on, and I'll never forget that moment, and I ended up going on to license his music and work with him in my later days. So yeah, it's very odd, but yes, Top of the Pops all the way. And Jules Holland at Christmas, New Year, sorry, yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I think like most English families, Thursday nights it was Top of the Pops.
Absolutely.
You're in front of the telly, like you felt a little special. My mum.
It was, you so look forward to it, wouldn't you? Because there was so little entertainment in the week. Yeah. That was like, you sit down. Has everyone got a cup of tea? Top of the Pops is on.
Well, I would get a shandy at like
wow.
15, so I got a shandy, and then like my mum would go all out and do the cucumber cream cheese sandwiches.
Wow, that's proper party food. That is.
Oh yeah, very very high class. So,
didn't even need a cricket match to have cucumber and cream cheese sandwiches.
Oh, not in our house. Yeah, it was just one of those where you rush home from school, and then 7 o'clock, Top of the Pops came on.
So good. And
then Friday you're talking about it. Who was on with your schoolmates. So yeah, it's just it's. I think in America, they had American Bandstand. I would think is the closest thing to Top of the Pops with Dick Clark. So yeah, it was just trying to explain to Americans about Top of the Pops and some of the novelty acts that were on there. The Combine Harvester song. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, they're like, what? Like farmers? Like,
we used to sing that at school.
Oh, didn't we?
In the best West Country accent that we could put on, that. Yeah. I mean, Dex's Midnight Runners was weird as you can get anyway. Things like that. I mean, that was just bonkers, wasn't it, really, if you think about it? Chaz and Dave.
Yeah.
They were great, though.
Yeah, Status Quo, same,
Yeah.
A little bit.
Very odd. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I come from a rocker and a soul family,
mm-hmm.
And then my sister kind of got me into more of the dance music with the 80s stuff. New Order, Depeche Mode, Joy Division,
the good stuff.
Yeah,
the good stuff. Yeah.
That takes you over the bridge, and then like wow, open your ears.
Do you know, as I got older, maybe a couple of years before I left home, because I left home when I was quite young. I left home when I was 17 to come and work in Derby, where I live now. I can remember maybe from the age of maybe 14, 15, around there, finding John Peel on the radio and hearing probably sounds that I'd never heard before. And maybe, I think there's something stuck in the back of my mind that I've got some wistful memories of that, if you know what I mean. Cloudy but wistful memories of that. My bedroom used to look out where the sun went down, so I'd have the nice light coming in and listening to John Peel and or whatever was on the radio, I guess, at that time, because obviously everyone listened to Radio 1 back then anyway. But yeah, there's got to have been something that triggered it at some point in my life, the whole music thing. I was really into computer music though. I used to load my Commodore 64 games and stop them as they loaded so I could listen to the loading music,
The good old Commodore 64.
Still got one.
Have you?
Yeah, fully working order.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember getting that for Christmas and playing ping pong. Just I mean, nowadays, you know, if you put that on the telly for the kids, they'd be like, what is this crap?
Well, I have done that, and I pretty much got that reaction. Yeah, like, oh, this is really good, Dad.
Yeah,
Like smelly.
yeah. I think it's from like the early 1900s. Yeah.
In the old, my kids used to use the term "in the olden days," which was actually no. We had colour TVs, don't you know? It wasn't that old.
Cars.
The world wasn't black and white. It wasn't like a Harold Lloyd movie.
Yeah, that's the thing. The kids today just think like if you're over the age of like 40, you're old, very old.
Yeah.
Like, we're not that bad.
But back in the 80s, you were very old if you were over 40. Things have changed, I think. We live longer now, don't we?
Yeah.
We've got vitamins.
Yes, thank goodness we do. And talking about gaming as well. I mean, you're a gaming designer. Was that like?
Well, so I grew up quite a nerd. I'll try and keep this short. I've told this story many times, but it ends up being long, so I'll try and keep it short. Not many people are aware of this, but there was kind of a movement in the late 80s. It's like the demo scene movement, which was a load of very nerdy but very intelligent and very clever people doing stuff on computers. And you would get graphics artists just splitting atoms on these rubbish computers, making the most amazing pictures. You'd get coders that were creating 3D vector graphics on machines that it wasn't really possible. These guys were so clever that they were, their heads were exploding with ideas and brains of brilliance. And there's lots of musicians around, especially in Scandinavia, in Finland and Sweden and Norway. And when I got my Commodore Amiga after the 64 period, I remember going into the computer shops, and there'd just been boxes of discs you could take discs out of, and you could put discs in them. Essentially, what happened was you'd put the disc in your computer, and it would have what was called a demo, and that would be like some nice text, like signing across the screen or something, or a star field with a graphic like this with some cool music, and it would then have, at the end, it would have the credits and the addresses of the people that made it. So essentially what you would do is you would then, save a disc full of your work, write a jiffy bag, put a stamp on it, put sellotape over it so it can be reused, and send it off. And then you'd get, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, it was like having a pen pal, you'd get a bag with some discs in it, and it would be like, what's going to be on them? Who are they from? It was so like Christmas. So you'd put the discs in, and these guys from Denmark or something, or the Netherlands, would have sent you their work, and then you got each other's phone numbers, and then you started kind of calling each other, and we built lifelong relationships. It's been brilliant. And my really good friend Dan Scott at the time was very high up in one of these demo groups as a coder and a graphic designer. We used to work together on these these demo hobby projects, you'd call them. But he got a job here in Derby at Core Design as a coder, and they needed an in-house musician because their output was growing, and they used to use a chap called Matt from Chelsea down south, and Matt didn't want to leave home to come and have the job because he was their main musician. And because I'd been doing music in the background, and I'd kind of done a little bit of music for one game and done all these demos, Dan called me and said, we're looking for a musician, do you want to come for an interview? And that's what happened. So when I was 17, I jumped on a train from Durham down to Derby and got the job on the day, and I moved down 5 days later, and I've been here ever since. So obviously people know that company went on to make many, many games, one of which was Tomb Raider. So I was the lead sound designer on that, so I did all the sound effects for Lara Croft's guns moving around and stuff. And our technology was absolutely terrible back in the day when we were doing this. So if you listen to the very last Tomb Raider we did, which was Angel of Darkness, and you listen to the very first one, the difference in not only our skill levels but the technology jump was quite vast. We went from doing this to doing that, and with the London Symphony Orchestra at Abbey Road. So the leap was quite gigantic. So yeah, but through that I also set up a record label and worked another job which I turned into Atjazz. So that my main job kind of funded me to buy quite a lot of my lovely stuff I have back in the day. So I quite like that. I used to get really bored of telling the story, but when I look back at it now I'm in my 50s, I'm like, you know what, that was a really, really wonderful opportunity. And I've told the guy that gave me my job, I've told him many times that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been given that kind of leg up that I needed at the time as a young person. So
are you self-taught music? Yeah.
Many hours of frustration and not knowing what I'm doing. But better than that, Kaidi Tatham's self-taught. And that breaks my mind that he's self-taught, because he's a genius, like a musical genius. So
I think you just got to have that really good ear, for sound.
You've got to know what's in tune and out of tune, that's for sure. When something's in key and rooted, that's the main thing. If you know that something's in key and rooted, you've got your building blocks are there.
Did you start piano first?
Not really, no. I coded music. I was only talking about this yesterday. So I had a Commodore Amiga with 4 channels of mono audio samples, or tiny loops that you would loop to a specific length to get a C. And I'm talking data loops. So it'd be tiny little loop of data, which would be a C, and you would use that as your lead sound to save space, because obviously they didn't have much memory. So I used to code music, that's how I started, and that's how I learned how that if you press a C and you go up 1 2 3, it's an E flat, 4 5 6 7, that's a G, that's a C minor, and if you do that, so that's C37. Or C47 is a C major in its first inversion. So it's like good building blocks, I guess. It's quite an old-fashioned way of music understanding, I think that is as well.
So what you're really saying is you're a proper nerd.
Oh, absolute weirdo nerd, yeah.
My wife's a bit like that. She's just so like, she needs to find out how things work and all that, and I always keep calling her a nerd. It's not a bad thing.
No, I think a nerd is like having a crown, being given a prize. A nerd or a geek, I'm happy with both. Yeah. It's just one of those things. I think I'm not very good at learning things. Like I still can't drive a car. I've had loads of lessons. I've driven from this city to the next city and come back, but I haven't got a license. I've got a learner's license. I can't drive a car legally. Can't drive it. But if you give me this and 2 hours, I can change someone's life if they're depressed. So.
So when for you, when did Atjazz come about? Because I always like to know. I know you've used your given name on a few tracks, but when did Atjazz come to fruition?
So after leaving home at 17, hanging out with the cool guys that worked at Core Design, we used to go down to the pub. I had my first drink in a pub at 17. That's naughty. And I had a pint of Murphy's. We used to visit our friends down in Leamington Spa at Codemasters, and we'd go around their house and we'd go to the pub and just dance because the DJ was on, have a dance, drink loads of beer, come back, order pizzas, Nintendo, and it would be Street Fighter all night. With the 2 guys, Graham and Toby, their names were, behind us, a makeshift DJ table with 2 1210s and a mixer and loads of vinyl, and they just used to play the best jazz, funk, trip-hop, acid jazz stuff ever. And I was it completely distracted me from playing games and stuff. I was just always looking and watching. I never really got to have a go, but I was like, I want to do. I have to do this thing that these guys are doing. If I don't do that, I don't know what I'm going to do, sort of thing. So I bought some terrible turntables which lasted about a week, and I got rid of them. I think I might have just given them to somebody, and then I saved up some of my wages from working at the video games company, and I bought myself my 1210s, which I still own now. And I bought lots of records which I still make too many to mention really, and I learned how to beat, juggle and scratch and stuff like that. And I was still doing the demo stuff with Dan and the guys at the time. I wasn't really like in the music industry at all. It was not there. But then learning about reading credits on the back of these records I was playing from Mo Wax or Yellow Productions or these wicked labels, I was like, I want to do this as well. I want to make music and let people hear it. So I started building up some equipment, some terrible equipment, and thought I could just do it. So the first couple of like years were quite limpy. I didn't really know what I was doing or what I was using. I was using the studio at work a little bit because there was a little bit more stuff there, and then I started building up a little bit more at home, and then eventually got an Akai sampler, and through speaking to people like my friend Clive Beats on the label, he was like, you've got to get an Akai sampler. That changed my life, getting an Akai sampler. Like they're so intuitive and brilliant to use for making any kind of like electronic edged music, whether it's from hip hop like Dilla stuff right through to techno. It just covers it all. So that with an Atari ST running Cubase and a mixing desk and a DAT machine, you didn't really need much more back then, if you know what I mean. So when I started making this music, and I'd completed a few songs, my friend Anthony said to me, you should send your music off to record labels. And I was like, no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And that music I sent off got signed straight away by DIY Discs in Nottingham. And then I needed to find a name. And I was massively into cartoons, still am, to be honest. And I was watching Top Cat, and Top Cat's arch enemy was called Jazz, Atjazz. And he went round his house because he'd stolen Top Cat's girlfriend, and he knocked on the door, and Jazz opens, and he says, they had a little bit of a argument, and he said, well, what's your name anyway? And he went, Jazz. And he said, Atjazz. And he said, well, what does the AT stand for? And he says, all that, and slams a door in Top Cat's face. So I kind of nicked it a bit. So Atjazz came from that, really, because of my love of cartoons and silly things.
I loved Top Cat growing up.
It's amazing. It was risky, man. It's a bit naughty. It's like that. Top Cat he was proper little scoundrel, wasn't he? Really.
It was. Yeah. You kind of look back and you like, YouTube is where you can probably find a lot of the episodes, but you look back and go, good God, some of that stuff is it's out there. Yeah. So,
but it was in the 60s and 70s, wasn't it? In the 50s even, when they go right back there.
And I loved the music on Top Cat as well.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, so that kind of like,
Well, it was big band jazz, wasn't it, really? And slinky, cat music.
Yeah.
Clicking your fingers and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing for me too. Like, I'm always about music. Like, it needs to have a bit of soul and a bit of passion to it.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Top Cat, and just the cymbal was just sounded really cool. I wasn't into horns early on, and same with like classical as I am now. I think as you get older, you really understand classical. Well, yeah,
you get more sophisticated tastes and.
Yeah, because I like Chris Rea. I never liked his stuff when I was a teenager, because I guess it's more about, like, for me as a teenager, I was more into like lyrics. So I was big into the Jam, the Smiths. Even though my life was good, I wanted to listen to miserable
music, Morrissey and stuff.
But as you get older, you're just like, I'm not that miserable anymore. When you listen to Noel Gallagher, and people kind of go, how come you don't write songs like you used to with Oasis? He's like, well, I'm not on the dole, and I'm not 20 years old anymore. So you can't.
Fact. Yeah.
You kind of grow up, and like, you can't write about stuff that you don't live.
Yes, very much.
I totally understand that, and got to be still weird. I mean, they had that sold out world tour, and he's still playing those songs.
Hmm.
That's still got to be weird. But then your bank account keeps going up. So
Oh yeah, they don't have to worry about things like that anymore, do they?
yeah, they're all right. Yeah, if they never go on another tour, I think they'll be all right. Yeah, they can still afford the rent. But for you as Atjazz, I mean, did you have like I always like to know as well? Do you like with your releases? Obviously, you said like the first tracks you made, you were like, oof, not good, but then you put one out and it does get signed. Did you have like a yearly goal? Like, okay, I'm gonna try and get this amount of tracks out.
No,
No?
no. I think it was more because I had a full-time job. Initially, it was just write tunes. I did that first EP on DIY, which was like called the Countless EP, I think it was. It had Countless and Slide It In and a couple of other things on there. And then I did the Story EP and then set up my own record label called Mantis Recordings. And I remastered that like 2 weeks ago because it turned 30 this year. And I put it up for free for a weekend so that people could just get my first records. But on that, no, I didn't really have a time. Like, I have plans now, but I don't think you can plan music like that. Like, I remember, oh my gosh, the people on my album must be, if they watch this, they'll laugh at me. The amount of times I said it's coming out in May 3 years ago. No, it's definitely coming out in November. No, it's finished. I'm done with it. And it's like you can't plan how you feel about your music, and if it's not right at the time, it's not right at the time to release it. You don't want to be doing things that feel wrong just because you think you have to stick to a plan. When it comes to art, I think you need to allow it to be what it is, and that's why most of us are broke, because it's just we're not releasing, especially the kind of music that we make, we're not releasing music for the masses. We're not making music for a purpose. We're making music. Whatever happens with that is not really up to us. It's up to people like yourself. If they get it, they like it. If they want to support it and celebrate it, that's wonderful. But for us, it's not. It's just a matter of getting it out there. And I've spiraled into a mad depression over the last few months because of that album. And I've only just realised last week when I started to feel a little bit different about myself and a bit more happy that since the release of Starbase 17, I have not felt right. I felt pretty low, especially with it being winter as well. It came out in the middle of winter, so. But yes, it's been quite a struggle to get back on it. So, but as far as plans are concerned, there are things happening. Myself and Fred Everything have finished our album, and the release date for that is the 15th of May 2026. So that's happening. I've got my Martin Iveson album to complete, which is nearly there. Sarai Jazz albums. So there are plans on getting these things finished, but when they get finished, they get finished. And I've always said this, and I say this to all the artists on my label: you don't get paid for making music. You get paid when you sell it, if you sell it. So all this time making music, it's just outpour. Pay that person for a vocal session, pay that person for horns, pay this. Use your time, which costs you money. Use your studio, which costs you money. It's always money out. So yeah, I think it's good to have a plan. I think it's good to have things in place so you can tick things off. But when it comes down to the creative thing, sometimes that entire plan has to move a few months with you. Like, come on, plan. We're going to go in November now. I know we said August, but come get on. So
well,
yeah.
Is it easier then, like owning your own record label, because you can kind of push it back as opposed to being on somebody else's label that has obviously deadline dates?
No, I think the other way around would be slightly easier for an artist, because the label may put pressure on you to finish a project within a certain time frame, whether you get that done or not. They will never fully, I don't, as a label, fully, I don't put both of my feet into someone's project if it's not finished, because I can't plan it. Back to your thing, I can't. Once it's done, it's mastered, we've got the artwork and all the assets are lined up, we can do rollout plan very easily. You can have, like I say, you can have dates, but they often slip and move, and now and again you hit it, now and again, and most of the time you don't, because it's a creative process, you don't get paid for it, and if the kids need taking swimming, or you need to do this, that comes first.
Yeah, well, I had Simon, Palm Skin Productions.
Yes.
On, and it was great chatting to him, because he was one of the first ones on Mowax. And
got all his records.
He's so brilliant and so smart.
I just mastered one of his tunes actually for a compilation. Yeah. And it's like this really hard acid thing. It's quite hectic. It's brilliant, but it's hard.
I mean, that's the thing with Simon. You kind of don't know what you're going to get. Obviously it started out like, very like psychedelic hip hop, trip hop. And then he's done some amazing house remixes.
Yeah.
And he's done the techno side, and you just love it. But he was just telling me, like with Mowex, he kind of was able to be himself, and then he got signed to Virgin. They eventually dropped him, but he told me, like, the experience of being, with a big label, he was able to go to the studio he wanted to. He was able to get the musicians in that he wanted to. So he said it was a bad experience on the like money side, but on the being freer, being able to be the artist he wanted to be, it was amazing, using all the studio technology he was given. So
yeah, opens doors, that's for sure. Yeah,
there is good and bad to it, but. I definitely want to talk about the album. I mean, 27 tracks, most albums, 10, 11. I mean, this is your heart and soul. I've listened to it so many times. It's absolutely amazing, mate. Like,
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And every song kind of tells its own little story. And to have the vocalist as well. How did you choose each individual vocalist?
Well, there are vocalists on there that are kind of my family. Like Clara Hill, Ernesto, Sarai. People like this, Amalia, and I have a long-standing relationship with these people, and we've done lots of songs together. Or I've remixed them over time as well, all these. So I couldn't do this album without bringing my people along with me. But I really wanted to do some work with Omar, who I've remixed many times, and looking to remix again very soon, actually. And I really like Omar. I think he's a brilliant person. I think he's a great personality. He's an amazing, amazing artist. And someone that people should look up to. His work is outstanding, but also I heard he went in his early years. Him and Max Beasley went to the same or same musical arts college, I guess you would call it, in London. It might be a little bit vague that, but it's something along those lines. Anyway, so I've always been a fan of Max Beasley, and since his High Vibes on Atjazz and stuff back in the day, I used to play that record till it went fuzzy, and I just contacted him. I saw he was, actively playing his vibes again in his garage in America, and obviously I knew he'd been on TV quite a lot and in movies and stuff, so I didn't want to kind of approach him without, the utmost respect, So I sent him a message on Instagram, because it's the only way I could contact him. I said, "Hey Max, this is who I am. Big fan of you on screen and on stage. I'm just wondering if you still, feature vibraphone on people's music? And he said, yes, mate, send me the song. And I did. And I had the parts back in a week. And bless him, I said to him, do I need to speak to your manager? And he was like, don't worry about it, mate. We're all struggling musicians and actors. Just send me a tenner. Which I didn't, obviously. I looked after him, but like it was such a really nice experience. And then him and Omar had this kind of, what key's it in, behind my back, like that. What key's it in? Oh, just do it in. I think they had this kind of conflab about it being in a weird key. So, but it came out. That's the Let's Talk track. It came out so brilliantly. It was, but yeah, working with people like CEO and I had done a talent swap. I'd written a song for her album, and she owed me that in return. So we did Tentative together, which was actually the second song that I made for Starbase 17. The first song was Starbase 17 because I wanted to kind of set the tone of the emotion of the album, if you know what I mean. It's heavily inspired by listening to Level 42, things like that, that song. Mike Lindup's sound, that kind of thing. So, but I wanted it to have musicality, and I wanted, especially the kind of more soulful and slower songs, to have the right bits to them as well, bridges and middle eights and choruses, and actually write some songs that people can listen to and understand the format of it, and not it just being some trippy neo soul thing that doesn't really change all the way through and relies on the sound, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it was odd, but I don't just make house music. I never have just made house music, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before. I really, and I've mentioned this in a few chats I've had with people, that I really wanted to respect my history. So there are songs on there that I feel connect with my very first works, which helps me understand where I started and how I can respect where I started, so that I can actually fully enjoy my career, rather than looking back and going, oh, I wasn't very good back then, or oh, that wasn't that great, that production. But looking back, my production wouldn't be what it is today without doing all of that. It was like stepping stones, learning to walk, So I really wanted to respect all of the work I'd done in the past, and on this album, and make it nostalgic in that way that I feel connected to it. It really spans. It doesn't feel too futuristic, like it's ahead of its time, and it doesn't sound too old, but it definitely nods to all the good times that I've experienced, whether that was in the late 90s up to the mid 2000s, and the whole broken beat, new jazz kind of breakthrough stuff, to the mid 90s of deep house and stuff, where I really got into it, as a DJ. And yeah, I hope it just kind of covers all grounds, and people understand. There's enough on there for people to make their own albums. I think, if you want to make your own 10-track album, pick your favourite 10 tracks. On International Women's Day this year, I made an 11-track album of the songs featuring all the girls on Spotify, and just put it up there as a playlist for people, so you could, for all the ladies, there's an album in itself just there. It's 11 songs, so it's quite good fun. I don't plan on stopping this album. I'm making a house version of it, whatever that is. There are some versions, and some instrumentals that I want to put together in an actual released album called The House of Starbase 17, where that will be released everywhere, because currently this is only released in certain stores and stuff. So, and then I'm also doing an ambient album called Starbase 17 Spacewalk, which is ambient music for people with the helmets on that have to go outside the starbase and clean it to keep them sane, so they don't get claustrophobia. So all my silly ideas. But I'm hoping that this album, I can continue it and have some fun with it, and make some more interesting projects with it and alongside it down the line, with the same people, or even with new people, because there's a few people that I didn't manage to get on the album. So I don't know, it's fun. I'll probably release other albums as well as doing this forever, but this Starbase thing is not going to stop. It's like my TV series. It's like that.
Well, I'd love to hear it, but with the vocalist, did you come up with the lyrics, or just let them flow?
I always think that the vocalists, actually on the very last song with Imani, Imani came to the studio and we wrote some of it together, but it was the majority Imani, to be fair. But the rest of it, I really think that vocalists shine when they do their own work. I don't want anyone to have to sing my words, especially the calibre of people that are on the album. I wouldn't dare offer them up lyrics when they're all songwriters in their own right, you know. So, yeah.
No, I love to hear that, because it's got to be. If I was a vocalist, I want to give my input, you know, obviously to a song, and giving like lyrics to sing that I have not, you know, thought of would just be separation for me.
Absolutely, you wouldn't have the connection. It's not your story, so you're going to perform it differently, you know. And also, it's a little bit when it comes down to the royalty splits and things like that, it gets complicated. If you've written if you're the lyricist, for instance, or the author of the lyrics, where does that leave this very popular singer when it comes to the publishing royalties? You know, they're not going to get anything. That's not fair. You know, because, you know, rightfully they haven't written it. They've just performed it. They can get paid for their work, but they don't own the words. So I think you know, teamwork it makes a dream work in this situation, is when you let someone be themselves and allow them to be who they are and sing what they want to sing about. I've had the odd conversation about, you know, is this kind of song, would it be okay to sing about this? Or I'm like, yeah, well, let's make sure we call the song the name it needs to be called, you know, that relates to the lyrics, you know, make sure that the message is in the title, you know, before we even get into the song. And when the vocals come back, I'll adjust the music a little bit, make it a bit softer or a bit tougher, depending on what the emotional content is, or if there's any emotional content, or it's just a bit of fun, you know, then we can make it a bit more wild. So
yeah, so I just remember, you know, like, remember Black Box?
Yeah,
everybody. Where was it? Martha Washington that actually sung.
Yeah, it's she did it on a podcast, didn't she?
Yeah, and she basically, Black Box absolutely just ripped her a new one.
Yeah.
Until, you know, because I remember on Top of the Pops they had a model singing it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, the face didn't go with the voice.
No.
And that's what I have a massive issue with, is just these incredible soulful vocalists that don't get their just rewards. You know, they're just put in the background, and they're not up there where it should be. Like for me, when I get a new album, I'm kind of like you as well. I read everything on the album. You know, the small print, I read everything. I love the artwork. That's the whole thing of, you know, having an album, as to opposed to digital, where, you know, you just see a little square box on B-port with an artwork.
And there's nothing to accompany it. There's no story.
Exactly. So I read everything, and I zone in on the vocalist.
Yeah. That's why on Bandcamp we're quite hectic on the credits. So when you go to a Bandcamp release, if you scroll down, each song is really broken down so you can see who's behind it. But it's wonderful because you can see the engine, the mechanics behind the song. You know, you can see who's been part of it and how important these people are to bringing one piece of music together. Because I said it the other day to somebody, I can't remember who I was talking to, but my album it wouldn't be if it wasn't for the people that are on the album with me. It literally is theirs as well, and everything's split fairly as well, you know, so like right down the middle. So if it's two people, it's straight down the middle, and that means they own half of the song. So
the way it should be. The way it should be.
Well, in this case, yeah, I suppose, but, you know, some people might have a different argument, and there's different deals I've had before with other people that have worked, but I think these days, because maybe people don't get their, you know, their flowers so much, and credits are missing from the major sites and stuff, and all that detail's missing, if you know what I mean, from the major sites, that somebody owning something as much as you do, it's their property as much as it is yours. And they may not own the master rights, but they own the writing of it. So it's theirs forever, no matter what happens. They can remix that song 1,000 times. They own half of the remixes as well. So no matter what happens. So yeah, it's I'm quite into the business side of as having a label with over 400 releases and 152 artists. I'm really into the business side of it, and I've been dealing with it quite a lot this week, where we've had some sample issues with people nicking songs and putting them out and giving us excuses that don't add up, put it like that. So it's just trying to make sure that the artists are looked after, especially the ones that have got bands. You know, even that, I'm not even a band. How would these guys and girls pull it together to have these bands and try and travel around with X amount of musicians doing shows for less than what a DJ gets paid?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have thick skin, and you've got to have this passion. I mean, we live in a social media world where you can have a viral song and it just takes off. TikTok and then the influencers, but you can really, really tell the people in the music business that have been around a very long time.
Yeah,
they're not in it for the money. I mean, yes, money, obviously.
No, I'm definitely in it for the money, but I know that the money that I earn is relative to what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Not grossly outweighed against this or that, and I'm not being underpaid. I'm not being overpaid. I think you should know your worth. That's for sure. And if you can make a living out of it, wonderful. Then you don't have to work at Amazon, you know. So
Uber Eats. That'd be funny. Like you DJ on the weekend, for like 5,000-10,000 people, and during the week you're in your own car driving around somebody's dinner.
Even at the weekend, your records are in that blue bag on the back of the bike. Just gonna drop this curry off before I go to my gig.
Well, after all these years, Martin, I mean, you still obviously love to DJ. That to me is bread and butter, because you're out there, you're playing your own tracks, and you see the immediate connection with the dancers. So that love probably will never go away.
No, it gets difficult sometimes as a DJ. There's been, over the last few months, we're spiralling out of control with my emotions. After the album came out, I struggled with DJing, I'll be honest with you. Maybe taking certain gigs that weren't suited to me, but having my arm bent behind my back to do them, kind of thing. So I've had to make some quite hectic decisions on that as well. I played a lovely gig on Saturday night for the Resonate guys in Manchester. Played vinyl as well. So I took a big bag of vinyl with me. It was just directly over the road from Piccadilly Station. Absolutely amazing place. We had such a good time. And it was just, when I take vinyl, I work really hard. I realised I broke a sweat. I've not broken a sweat since I played in a hot country DJing. And that says something about, how easy it is to play off the CDJs. And it's that risky, oh my god, I'm playing vinyl, I've got to get in touch with my internal metronome all of a sudden, that I forgot. Oh, it's still there, it keeps coming back, It's 2 CDJs, 2 vinyl decks. It felt like really incredibly nourishing as a DJ for me to do that again, because I've not played a vinyl. So I played some vinyl down at Jimster's wife's place, A Canteen, a couple of years ago, and that was fun. But this one, because it was kind of a proper club environment as well, it was like, it's playing now. I'm going to have to work with this, because all these people are dancing. Well, I think people really were appreciative of that that I was working so hard. So one of the DJs, Martin, said, "Oh my God, you work so hard." I was like, "I have to. It's going to go out of time if I don't." I'm just like a mouse running around a maze, basically. Yeah. So, but it was really good. Yeah, I've had some absolutely phenomenal gigs. I've played in front of 25,000 people before. I've played in front of one person before. In Istanbul, this guy came over from India to see me DJ, and it was after a DJ competition that I was judging. It was full. The venue was full, and as soon as the DJ competition finished, everybody left apart from this one person. So I was in the room with him for 3 hours, and I played my heart out for this one guy, and he loved it. That was brilliant. It was weird. That was the least amount of people I've ever DJ'd to, and it was one of the best gigs ever. But then, you play these big festivals, and you don't feel a connection at all because two people are super far away from you. So I do enjoy it. I just need to be aware of where I place myself, I think, especially now, because I just got wrapped up in a few situations where I was just playing the wrong parties for a while. The parties are great. I'm just not the right DJ for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's good, and to be a veteran DJ, because you can kind of pick and choose where you play, as opposed to a brand new DJ who will take any gig out there
and put up with the requests, and put up with the "you're not very good" comments and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and not get paid much, but I've just noticed a lot more older DJs are very picky on where they play.
Absolutely, as they should be, because they want to enjoy it.
Yeah, and plus you want to get there, and the sound system is good.
Yeah,
because there's nothing worse than playing on a really bad sound system. And
it always surprises me that when you turn up to a club and it sounds bad, and the first thing you think is, isn't this all about music? But you're not going to be able to hear it properly. That's like having a bar with paper, as in actual cups made out of paper, where your drink falls out the bottom. Right? What's the point of that? I can get a little bit of a drink before it off. Sound system is collapsing on me, or just doesn't work, or the decks don't work. They've had a lot of that as well, but yeah, that's crazy.
It's one deck.
Well, you know what? There's been times where I've had to play off one deck. I remember Chris Charisma telling me that he'd turned up somewhere and he had to play tapes off something and records off another thing, and try to beat match tapes and a vinyl, because there was nothing else. So yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago, I think, but I don't think you get that these days.
Yeah, at least with on a CDJ you can play you can mix on them with just one. You can use the different channels, which is good. But yeah, I mean, first and foremost, if I walk into a club and I just hear the and I can't really hear anything else, I'm just going to turn right back around,
spin around and go and have a beer somewhere.
Yeah,
where the music sounds better in a pub. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but sometimes it's not even the sound system. It's just because the DJ's got it redlining. And,
yeah.
That's another thing that just drives me mental these days. Is just, we all know an opening DJ. I think that's one of the most important of the night, because they set the tone. And if you're walking in at 10 o'clock at night and he's banging or she's banging stuff out, again, I turn right back around,
Mm-hmm.
And I hate doing that, because especially in UK clubs, they're getting smaller and smaller. A lot of them are closing just because they don't have the big name DJs to keep people coming through the doors. The resident DJ, to me, is the heart and soul of this scene, of this culture. I think it's been lost a little bit, where people go, I won't show up till 1 o'clock. When's the headliner on? 1 o'clock? Okay, I'll be there 30 minutes before. And that's disrespectful to me, to the resident DJ.
Well, what we've done in the past is we don't put any times, and we don't tell anybody what time anyone's on, and we just say it's open from here to here. And there's a couple of parties I've thrown because it's kind of, last year was my 30th year of like starting Atjazz. This year's my 30th year of my first ever Atjazz release. So I guess this year's really the 30th year of Atjazz, really. And when we did the party in Bedford at Hurd, and we had Ocean Larday and Kiri and myself and Abel and people like that, we didn't tell anybody what time anybody was playing. And people turned up and I was already playing. They're like, "Oh, didn't realise you'd be on now." I was like, "Well, we didn't tell anybody what time. What time's so-and-so on?" We're like, "You know, you're going to have to hang around. It's a nice environment. Find a seat, you know."
Well, I always say, like, you know, you never know. Go check these clubs out, or, you know, bands out that you've never heard of. They might be your favourite band after you hear them, you know. And there's nothing like seeing a band live, especially, you know, like a jazz band. Like, I mean, I love what's going on, like, in the drum and bass scene. They're doing more, you know, band orientated shows now. I love that, you know, about it. It's just, you know, the way music is kind of shoved down people's throats again on social media. Just that's a big reason why I like Bandcamp, because I go down the rabbit hole. You know, I'll be searching for one artist, and then that one artist leads me to, you know, down the rabbit hole to.
Yeah, if they've done a collaboration or something, you click on the collaborator, and you're on their, and then you're on their label. Then you find some,
just keep going, and then, you know, your cart keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I've got about £30 worth in mine at the minute. I've got to go and check out at some point before it gets any bigger.
Yeah, I make like 3 lists, Bandcamp. Like, I'll put 50 in there, and then I'll go back and go, okay, you know, are they on tier 1, tier 2, tier 3?
I don't have tiers. It's got to be golden, or I'm not buying it. That's it. It's only one tier.
Well, my thing is, Martin, is like, I might like something straight away, and then I'll go, okay, I'll just keep it in the cart, and then I go back and listen to it a week later and go, it doesn't sound as good as the first week. So that's my tier, like 2 and 3. So I just write. I take them out the cart and I write them down, and then I'll put another tier 1 in there. And I've just got too much. But mate, I know you've got to go soon. But it's been
we're all right for 20 minutes or so, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what inspires you, and what kind of keeps you being creative?
I remember when I was online doing like an Instagram live a few years ago, Charlie Dark popped up and said, you know, what keeps you going, basically. And I've got to be careful when I ask myself this question, because I start thinking what keeps me going, and I don't want to find it. You know, I'd like it to remain a mystery, to be honest. One thing I can tell you is I'm quite addicted to creating something from nothing. I think that's a really beautiful thing to do, with sound especially. That's why I like analog synths so much, you know. I've got lots of them, and I love them all, and they all give me something else. But you start with nothing and you end up with something with music a lot of the time. You've got literally no sound, and then you can create something, again, that can, you know, change someone's life. I've told people that I've heard from people that were really on the edge, that, you know, my music saved them, and it's massive, you know. I better write music like that again then, you know. I feel like hectic fortunate to be able to do this. This is my full-time job. Yeah, I mean, I know I've got Atjazz Record Company, I've got Less Than 10. D Malice's sub-label, DM Recordings, is under my wing as well. That's the label side, the distribution. I've also got a publishing company where I publish artists that don't have any publishing. then I've got the studio, and I'm a mastering engineer for about 20 clients. My biggest client is Free Range Records, so I do all the mastering for Free Range, Delusions of Grandeur, all the labels basically, and their distribution labels as well. So so I'm always busy. I don't know how I managed to do this, so I'm hella not going to give it up. This is like I found something I'm good at, not driving cars, and I want to keep doing it, and this is one thing that you can actually really improve on as well all the time. So it is interesting that you can turn this unit on today or turn that unit on today and make something completely different with it you'd never find before, and happy accidents, and knowing that people get a kick out of listening to that is really, really nice. Half of the reason that my album isn't available everywhere is because I wanted people to be able to access my album with their existing subscriptions, and you don't have to buy it. Just go and listen to it. Even you can listen to it for free. Just have an advert now and again. Just go and listen to it. It's about sharing it out a little bit as well. But I think it's all one big thing for me, and I don't think I'll ever really figure out exactly what it is. But I do love creating sound, and I love it when I outdo myself, because I'm constantly in competition with myself to be better than the last time I did something, and that keeps you going as well, because you just want to better what your abilities are. And I like synthesizers, and I want to generate enough money so I can buy some more, but don't tell Amanda. It's that thing. So I just love it. I think I really, really love making sound, and I don't particularly like the music industry, because I think I do things pretty well, and I can get on my high horse about things sometimes, because I think it's an industry that really needs to be looked after and cared for, and run properly with respect, and a lot of the time it's not, and that drives me crazy. But the other thing is, I guess with music, if you like listening to music, you're never going to listen to all the songs you're going to love, so it never ends. I've got those in later years sitting in my slippers, with a brandy in front of a fire and my smoking jacket on, listening to rare jazz. Got all that to come. It never ends. It's also a job I guess I don't have to really retire from, either. And it's something I can pass on to my children, And I'm building an estate, I've got over 1,000 records out there, or 1,000 recordings out there that I've have my publishing on, and when I'm not here anymore, that's my kids, So it's a very giving industry. It's a very giving work if you do it well, if you do it properly. You can't just dip in, nick a bit, and go out. I don't like that. But I don't think I've got a really clear answer for you, because every time I try and think about it, I go off on a tangent, which means I just don't know, do I? I just have got no idea. Nice trainers, by the way.
See, that's my advice. Oh
Yeah.
my God, yeah. Everybody kind of zooms in on the trainers, and they're like, yeah. I mean, it just stems from not being able to afford them when I was younger, and then my first check on the YTS, I went out and bought a pair of Adidas Kick and never looked back. All original boxes, tags. Yeah, I'm as they say. Are you a wearer or a starer? I'm a bit of both.
Bit of both, okay, yeah.
Yeah, 90% I don't wear, 10% I wear. So yeah, it's just music, me trainers, me clobber.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
It's a bit like me, my synthesizers and my equipment. 90% is here for me to look at.
Yeah,
And make me feel nice about things, and I use 10% of it at best. But I need some more though.
Yeah, but you just buy them because you just need them.
Yeah. Well, of course I need them.
Yeah.
Who's to argue with me?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, you want to put them to good use, and you just take the cloth and get the dust off of them every week. I do the same with the trainers and stuff, but they make you happy, right? And
Yeah, they do.
Maybe not your wallet, but the main thing is
I don't even have a wallet anymore.
Yeah.
It just disintegrated years ago. There's nothing left.
Well, Martin, what would be kind of your thoughts on, like, artists coming up? Obviously, again, we keep talking about social media, and when we're off camera, we're talking about like how social media can just suck you in, and you can become a proper arsehole.
We've all been there.
Yeah,
we've all dropped that comment we shouldn't have dropped, and then got into some sort of
yeah. So what are your
Well, I would say
wise words.
Well, I've had the opportunity to mentor a few younger artists and upcoming acts and what have you. I think the best thing in the world is to be yourself. I think really one of the worst things which social media is bad for delivering information is the way that people see things on there and want to be like that. That's someone else's life. Why would you want to live someone else's life? It's very bizarre to want to live that, or be that, or want what they've got. And the money that we see, or the money that we see that people have online, DJs in nice clothes leaning against Lamborghinis and stuff like that. It's just, what is that? Did you get up this morning and put your nice clothes on and lean against your Lamborghini just to have a photograph taken? Or did you go and write some music? I think we know the answer to that. So why would you want to be like that? You're going to get no satisfaction out of not being yourself. I think you've really got to be yourself. The best feeling in the world is when you create something on your own and it's good and other people like it. It's really, really nice. And I think with social media, follow the rules, follow the regulations, keep an eye on the tricks and the things that people are using, because if you are going to use it, be good at it, and just don't get sucked in and to these 2-minute clips of something looking amazing that you think might be reality, when that rest of that DJ set might have been quite bad. You just don't know. It's just these perfect recorded moments that people see. And I'm not just talking about DJs or studio production or people driving cars even, or chefs or whatever it might be. They are constructed to look so brilliant, but you don't know the work that goes in behind that, and you don't actually know the outcome of it, or how well those people are actually doing, really, or where they are psychologically, either, whether they're struggling or not struggling. So I think just try and be yourself and be the best at what you can be at that moment, because you will get better at whatever you'll do over time anyway. And this is a long game. I've always said that. The music industry is a long game. You might have a lovely hit once in a while, that's great, get a bit of music out there and get some, pay a bit of your mortgage off or whatever, or buy another synth. No one's listening. Like I say, you just live the best version of yourself if you're going to do music art, basically, I think. Don't be weird about it and start wanting to be like everyone else, because then all you're teaching other people is that that's what you should do. And we're going to lose good talent along the way with that happening, So stop it, I guess. Get on with it.
Well, we don't want 20,000 clones of kind.
No, we don't, and we're sick of it already. Find something new, find something interesting. The best thing in the world is a brand new piece of music no one's ever heard before, in the style that you like it. Wow! Imagine Weather Report making a brand new album today. They did it differently. There was no one like Joe Zawinul, you know, nor was there anyone like Jaco Pastorius. But there are many people that want to be like him. But we know once they want to be like that person, we're less interested in them.
Yep.
So, you know, be yourself and be the next brilliant whatever we don't expect, you know. It's very deep, isn't it? I don't think I've actually said anything that made any sense there. I better go. I'm going to pick my child up from school and make him do his English homework.
Yeah, that'll get you back down to earth. But
Yeah.
Martin, absolute pleasure to
Oh, it's lovely to talk about you. We should do it again. Part
Definitely.
2.
Yeah. Well, when you and Fred have the album coming out, we
Yeah.
a part 2, because I've had Fred on, and he's an absolute
He's a gem, eh?
legend, and he's genuine.
He's one of my oldest mates. We've been doing music together since 1998. So it's 28 years. Yeah. But he's coming over here for my birthday. I'm seeing him in about 6 weeks.
Oh, are you gonna be DJing?
He's coming here.
You gonna DJ together?
We're going to see a couple of radio personalities in London to talk about our album, and then we're going to come back up here for my birthday. Then Fred's off to Milton Keynes to play at open house. So
Nice.
yeah, it'll be nice.
That'll be good. I have a few bevies. Always
That's drinks to those people that aren't from Liverpool, by the way. Bevies.
some bevies. Please, everyone, please go check out Martin's brand new album, Starbase 17. Like I said, I've been listening to it for a while, and it is from track 1 to track 27. Absolutely amazing. If you like broken beat, you like new disco, deep house, it's all in there. So there's so many blurring the genre lines, which I love.
Oh yeah, I totally blurred the lines there. Yeah.
I can't stick to 10 techno tracks, 10 deep house tracks. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I always like the blurring the lines, but I always say Bandcamp for me is the best place to go, because the artist gets most of the royalties.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
You make the music, you should get the money. So I always say go to Bandcamp first.
And people become part of our community as well. It's one of the only places you can actually message everybody that wants to hear from us.
Yeah.
To let them know things are happening. And also, we do things like give people free stuff behind the scenes, or they get first dibs on vinyl and things like that, before it comes out. All these kind of little tricks that we do. But for a lot of us independent artists, Bandcamp is like home for us, because we're in control of it. And like I say, that our Bandcamp followers are such an important community to us. It's beyond words, that one. Yeah, we didn't ask them to come there,
Well, please go to atjazz.bandcamp.com or atjazzrecordcompany.com or atjazzrecordcompany.bandcamp.com. You'll find just
type it in one big line, see what happens.
One big line,
you break the internet.
And then hopefully you'll find new artists on the label that you've never heard of. That you just go down the rabbit hole. Spend 2 hours.
Yeah,
week just going down there and see what you get. But
pop a beer, get on there. That's what I say.
There you go. Or smoke your favorite whatever these days.
Cigar.
Yeah, or pipe. Would you slip it and smoke?
What a wizard pipe, really long one.
Oh, like Gandalf.
Like Gandalf, sat in a big wooden chair. This is really uncomfortable. And I don't even smoke. What's going on? Anyway, on that, I better go and pick the little one up from school.
Well, thank you so much, Martin. Everybody, please like, subscribe, put your notifications on. As I always say, as I always end this, please look after one another. We live in a crazy world. Don't be an arsehole. Say hello, be nice, and we'll just get along. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Peace.